Absolutely. Give me a towel and a safety pin. I'm on my way. You don't. And I
Oh, you
think the
don't?
biggest thing is accepting that you won't appease everyone. And I think just remembering that, this is your first lesson in parenthood and this is your first gift to your baby. And
Hello, everyone. You're listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby, a podcast dedicated to exploring the personal and emotional journeys of parenting. I'm your host. My name is Medea. Today I have Jessie, lifestyle content creator and baby name consultant and mother of two. Jessie, welcome to the show.
thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course. So, we're going to start with something called the Fast Five, where I ask you five questions back to back and you answer with the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
ready.
Biggest pregnancy craving.
Oh my gosh, ices. Like a cherry icy, like as much Red 40 as you could pump into it. All I
Oh,
wanted were ices from a movie theater. It was all I wanted.
oh, I love those, like the slushies, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh my
So
gosh,
good.
so good. That's a good one. Which is
Yeah.
worse? You run out of diapers or you run out of wipes?
Wipes are worse.
But then with diapers, let's say you run out of diapers, you can't make a diaper, right? Or I guess you can.
Absolutely. Give me a towel and a safety pin. I'm on my way. Not a
Okay.
problem.
That's true. That's true. One
I'm
word to
crafty.
describe, yeah, one word to describe labor and one word to describe parenthood.
Labor, I would say marathon. That's my word of
Mm,
choice. It's a marathon. Parenthood, I would say rewarding.
I like that. That's really good. Favorite baby product you can't live without?
Mockingbird high chair. That is the one thing that's the hill I'll die on. It's the product I force on all of my friends. When they send me their registry, I say, "You're wrong, add the Mockingbird." And then they always come to me a year later and they say, "Thank you." I swear by it. I just bought my cousin one. We have two. I'm obsessed with it.
So what is it exactly?
It's a high chair that's completely like wipeable. All the pieces come apart. There's no silly fabric. Why a high chair would have fabric, I'm not quite sure. We did baby-led weaning and it was so easy to clean. The tray can go in the dishwasher. But the main thing for me is it converts to a toddler chair. So both of my
Oh,
kids are still using it and probably will be till they're like 6, because it's in the toddler chair version. I swear by it.
okay. Yeah, things that convert as you get older
Oh,
are
yes. Yes.
perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. And then last one, most unexpected joy of motherhood.
I think seeing my kids develop a relationship between each other, I think, you know you're going to love your kids and you know that you are going to bond with them. You feel that bond with them usually when you're pregnant. But seeing these two people that you worry so much when you're pregnant with your second, like how it's going to affect your first, seeing them have their own relationship independent of you is just so overwhelming and just a joy beyond what I could have ever fathomed, honestly.
Yeah, because it could go either way. They could end up fighting with each other, but once
Yeah.
if they start loving each other and actually bonding, that's like a mother's like first
Yeah.
wish.
Oh, it's the biggest dream, and everyone always tells you, there might be jealousy, there might be, behavioral issues that come. We didn't experience any of that. I genuinely feel like the greatest gift I gave my son was his sister. Like they just love each other so much. So that's definitely, I know.
That's so
I know.
cute. And as they get
Yeah,
older, the
it's the
bond will
best.
just get stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. We see it every day.
Wow. Now, you have a very interesting job as a baby name consultant. So I
Yes.
have so many questions. My
Yeah.
first one, my first one is, what's the biggest mistake parents make when choosing a baby name?
Honestly, listening to outside voices and outside opinions from family
Mhm.
members, from friends, I think that we doubt ourselves so much, especially as first-time parents. I find that we listen a lot to people whose opinions we don't even necessarily agree with. Like, you think about your parents and when they were naming us, and you probably have very different choices you would have made in as terms of like names. I'm sure their favorite baby names back, 20, 30 years ago were not anything that you would pick now. So like why listen to them today? It's just so different. Also choosing family names out of guilt rather than
Mm.
because you actually want to or feel called to. Doing it out of obligation is a huge regret I see from people.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure surrounding a baby name because you want to make everyone happy.
Yes, and you want the validation of everyone being like, that's amazing. And sometimes that's just not practical, and you need to really listen to your heart instead of, the peanut gallery.
So what if everyone's suggesting different names? How do you appease everyone?
You don't. And I
Oh, you
think the
don't.
biggest thing is accepting that you won't appease everyone. And I think just remembering that, this is your first lesson in parenthood and this is your first gift to your baby. And just kind of developing that confidence within yourself that you do know what's best for your baby. You do know what's best for your family. And there are very respectful ways to tell, the people that are giving all of their opinions. Thank you so much. Like, we're so excited for you to have a relationship with this baby too, and we can't wait to see that, develop. But this is what we're going with as parents, and just kind of establishing those boundaries early, I think is really, really beneficial.
Yeah, and it's your baby at the end of the
Yes,
day. So no
yes,
one else can really tell you what to name your baby.
exactly.
Hmm. And it spills over in other instances as well. If you let someone else pick your baby name, what else are you gonna let them do?
Yes, you're opening the doors for people to feel like they are involved in your other parenting decisions too. And I think it's a very
Hmm.
slippery slope, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's a good point. What trends are you seeing right now, and which ones do you think will stand the test of time?
The number one that I see that I think is really going to stand the test of time, I call it nursery or nursing home names, which is basically just baby names that sound like they're elderly.
Oh
I
yeah.
think people have been loving these for so long. Look at even like the charts. You have Theodore and, Eleanor that are just such popular favorites right now. People love old people names for babies, and I really don't see it going away anytime soon. Also, girl names for boy names for girls is such a big trend right now. I don't necessarily see those as timeless as the nursery or nursing home trend, but I do think we're going to be seeing like the gender bending of names for years and years to come.
Yeah. Why do you think people choose older people names for their babies?
I think that, we are in a very polarizing, there's a very polarizing contrast in like baby naming trends of people are going very inventive. And I think we've had a couple years of very like made up. I don't like to say that because all names are technically made up, but very inventive names coming on the scene and that being the trend. And I think people that don't resonate with that have kind of gone the polar opposite direction, and kind of gone back to, either their family tree or elsewhere and really have stuck to like classic in an extreme way and in a way that's really cool to hear actually. Because when you hear, Clark, you don't think it's going to be a baby, and it's like
Hmm.
kind of fun. But I also think it's people that they don't necessarily have associations with because they are such older names, that they kind of feel like fresh again.
Yeah, so more traditional, not going like the modern route.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is kind of funny, like having an older person name for a baby. Like it's funny and
Yeah,
it'll
it's
work
so
with them
funny.
for their whole life. Because then when they're older, it'll make
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, totally. And I think that, we do see a lot of people going so out there that people are looking at them and they're like, this baby's going to be an adult one day. I cannot picture that name on an adult. And so there are people that, of course, as with anything, are just going the polar opposite direction. And they're like, well, I'm just going to give birth to a baby that sounds like they're already an adult. And, it's like the funny, like the juxtaposition there is just, it's really something when you have like babies named like Pepper right now on social media. And then you have like, I don't even know, like the funniest, like Theodore and Winston and, all of those.
Yeah, and
It's
they're all
funny.
cute because all babies are cute. So no matter what, it'll be a good name.
Yes, it's perfect. It's so funny too because you can see the personality come through both sides of the spectrum. And it's just like proof that as parents, we usually do kind of suss out a baby's vibe before they're here, and it's usually pretty spot on.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a baby not fit their name at all?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. And
really? Okay.
usually people that have gone with like family suggestions or that have kind of trashed their name that they were super drawn to because it was too popular. Usually, anytime someone's going against their instincts with baby naming, sometimes you do see a little bit of a disconnect. Or a big one for me is like the family tradition of, oh, this baby's going to be the third. Like he has the same name as his dad and his grandpa. And I'm just like, that doesn't really suit him. Yeah, for the most part, that's usually that's usually how we get there.
Do people wait to name their baby, or is it just right when it comes out, you name the baby?
I think usually I see the majority of people that actually have the name picked way before the baby's here. Their embroidery's done, the nursery
Hmm.
sign is on the wall, it's really locked in. I'd say about 15 to 20% of people wait till they're in the hospital. At least in the US, I think the vast majority of people have the name on the birth certificate before they leave the hospital. I think that's
Okay.
definitely common here. In other countries, it is more common to wait. I know in some places they wait a couple months to legally name the baby and they
Whoa.
kind of like test them. Yeah, it's really cool actually. And when I speak to people that this is the norm where they're from, it's so interesting to see that all of the anxiety we feel around baby naming, they don't seem to feel. They don't feel that same like time crunch and like stressful, like, oh my gosh, I just gave birth. I just went through like a medically traumatic experience and now I'm like I have paperwork in my hand to like name this human. But yeah, it's like very different abroad for sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a better way to do it because then you get to see your baby, see how they act, and then give them a name.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes so much more sense.
Yeah. Hmm. How do you help parents when they completely disagree on a baby's name?
For me, I see a lot that sometimes me just being a neutral party helps bridge that gap a little bit. I think when people get to a standstill like that, just me throwing out names that suit them, like in the middle, is helpful because I don't think that they feel like it's like me against you. And that might sound silly to people of why is it even me against you? You're naming a baby, like you should be able to get to that place. But it's a very like personal choice and our backgrounds just determine our taste in baby names so much. And when you're with someone that has a totally different life experience than you, you're probably going to have very different preferences. What I typically do is I have like an onboarding form and I will get all of their unique opinions on names and like separate to each other. Like if this other person was not even involved in the naming process, what would you be going for right now? And then I take both of those styles and I blend them together. And, you know, as with most things in relationships and in parenting, it is about compromise. You're
Mhm.
probably not going to get the number one name that you want, but neither of you are. So what can we find in the middle that you both feel you connect with and your baby connects with. You know what I mean? So just reminding them that compromise is a huge part of the process and kind of just the knowledge that I have stylistically about baby names, I am really good about bridging that gap.
Yeah, because they're gonna have to compromise their whole relationship. So you got to start
Absolutely.
somewhere.
Yeah, and that's my thing with baby naming. And I see a lot of people that say, oh, well, I carried the baby. He's not having anything to do with the naming process. And I say, I hear you. As someone who had two like difficult pregnancies, I understand that. It's hard. It's hard to be the one that's carrying the baby that's giving birth. I do think though that it's a group project and this is your first part of your group project. And I think sometimes naming your baby can set the tone for the rest of your parenting journey and kind of doing that together and having that be like an important thing that you accomplish with one another. It's a really great first step to becoming parents. So I do kind of like push back on that sometimes of that notion that like dad doesn't get a say because wasn't his womb. I like to kind of make everyone aware that there are so many benefits that, no matter what structure your relationship has, both partners having a say is a really healthy start.
Yeah, because it's both their baby. at the
Yeah,
end of the
absolutely.
day. And a name is so important. That's
Yeah,
you attach that to that person for the rest of their lives. So both people should have a say.
absolutely. And I hear from so many people like whose kids are grown and they'll tell me their kids' names and they're like, oh, but I did their dad picked that one. And I don't even call him that. And you can tell there's like still some like resentment towards like the names they didn't actually love. And so I always warn people like you might think, oh, I'll get over it. You won't. And neither will the other person. Like you will always have in the back of your mind, like, oh, I wasn't really allowed to contribute to that one. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I do definitely advise against that, even if it's hard, even if it seems like you're never going to find, common ground naming wise, you will.
Yeah, it sets the tone. So you want to start off on a good note.
Absolutely.
Have you ever talked someone out of a name and why?
Yes. I think sometimes you don't realize when you say something out loud how it sounds. And I think sometimes people come to me and they have middle names they're set on, oh, we love this first name. And sometimes it sounds like something that they don't realize. Sometimes it may sound like a word or a phrase that you would not want associated with your baby if you're catching
Hmm.
my drift. And so
Hmm.
sometimes I have to have a awkward conversation of, don't you think that kind of sounds a little bit like, and I have to point things out to them that they may not be clocking. And that's always kind of awkward. And I try to say it as professionally as possible. But sometimes I do just say, like, sis, please say it out loud a couple times and tell me if you're hearing what I'm hearing because this is what
Yeah.
I hear. Um,
Hmm.
Usually it's received well. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And so I do steer them in a different direction. And I say, hey, here are some names that are similar to that first name or that middle name that don't create this, doesn't have the same like auditory similarities.
Yeah, so good you're there because when it's in their mind and they're listening to it over and over, they're like, oh, this sounds perfect. You need someone else to hear it.
Yes, it's the outside perspective that is like, fresh set of ears, fresh set of eyes that sometimes can catch something that you may not be noticing.
Yeah. What's the process like when someone comes to you? Do they just list all of their names or do they come to you and you list names first? Like, what's the process like?
Yeah, so they'll come to me, and based on like whatever package there is, because some of my packages aren't actual like name recommendations. They're just like it's called an Ask Me Anything. So they can say to me like, I'm freaking out about this, this, and this. Can you help me choose what are the pros and cons of these names? And I'll do that. But if it's an actual like curated name list, what I'll do is I send them a form and I have them fill out like brief description. Do you have other kids? What are their names? Do you want it to sound cohesive with their names? Is there a certain like ranking that matters to you? Some people will say, I want it to be unique. What does that mean from a numerical standpoint? Is that outside of the top 10 in the US? Is it outside of the top 20? Is it outside of the top 1,000? Like, what does that mean to you? And then hit me with names that you love, and then also names that you don't like at all and why. Um, Also, what are your sister's kids' names? You're obviously not going to use those. Let me know what names are off limits. In your close circle, what are the kids' names? What can't we use? And then I also say, have your partner fill out the exact same thing. I want to hear from both of you. I want to know what you love, what you hate, so I can help you kind of find something in between. And then from there, I do a big brainstorm. I just like brain dump probably like 50 names.
Whoa.
And then it's kind of like when you're online shopping and you add everything to your cart and then you go back and you're like, so that isn't even my size and I don't even really like it. So why did I
Yeah,
put it
all
there?
the time.
Um, that's kind of what I find from my brainstorm. I'm like, so out of these 50 names, these are nonsensical. So let's take them out of the equation. And then I will compile a list of, the front runners that I'm just like, this is just spot on for their criteria, for what they're looking for. And then I'll usually do an honorable mention section where I'm just like, these aren't quite a fit, but I wanted to bring them to your attention, whether that be these are outside of, the ranking you're looking for. It is a little bit more common than you would like, but I wanted to bring it to your attention in case you're flexible. And then the main list, I will do usually explanations for how I got there and why I think it is so suitable for them for each name. And then I send it off. And that's kind of my process. It can vary in length depending on people's criteria. Sometimes it's extremely specific and so challenging, and it requires a bit more research. But yeah, for the most part, that's my process.
Well, it's very thorough and that must take a long time.
Oh, it it's a very, very time consuming process.
Yeah, but good they have like I didn't even know a baby name consultant was a thing, but now I'm
I
like
know.
I'm definitely gonna have one because
I feel like I'm sold.
I'm sold. Yeah, because that's a very difficult decision and it's good to have a third party help you with that.
Yeah, and even if you're not necessarily like struggling, like, oh, we're at a standstill, sometimes it's just fun. I mean, you only get to go through this process so many times in life, and it can be really fun if you let it be. And I really enjoy those consultations of people that are not necessarily stressed out about the names they're choosing, but just like are really enjoying the process and really want to make sure they're being super thorough and seeing all of their options. So it's definitely a wide variety of reasons that someone may hire me, but definitely there are a lot of like very fun energy consultations I do.
Yeah. How important is it for people to have sibling names that match or are cohesive?
It depends. Some people want a full-on theme and they want to continue their theme. Some people don't necessarily care but don't want it to sound crazy. And I think that's really where I land. I think there's a difference between having, I always say, Star and Sky being your kids' names and like having just polar opposite names like Chrysanthemum and Bill, like things that just don't make sense at all. And it sounds like two
Mhm.
different people named them. Because in situations like that, and when people ask me, like, why does it matter? They're their own people. I do like to point out that I hear from a lot of people once they're adults that felt very sensitive about how different their name was from their sibling's name, almost like, well, why did she get that name? Why did she get so much care put into her name? Or why do I have the weird name? Why is my name a word? And people always made comments about it, and she's Emily. Like it just
Mhm.
does create kind of a weird dynamic sometimes in a family when the names are too different, and kids feel that. So that's kind of what I like to point out. But some people don't care at all, and some people are really into it and want it to be like maximum cohesion.
Interesting. So it really just depends on the client.
Everything depends so much on the client. I find that specifically with baby naming, people couldn't be more different. You never know what people's priorities are going to be. And I think that is why my onboarding process, like with that form, is so thorough because I don't know you ultimately, and I want to. I want to be able to get to know you well enough that I can adequately help you. And people's expectations and needs are so different here.
Yeah. That's so difficult. I don't know how you do it. But
It's tough. It's fun. It's a cool way to like connect with people in a unique
yeah.
way.
Yeah, and you get to know them in a way that other people might not get to know some people because they're sharing a lot about themselves and their tastes, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I usually say that I'm like, thank you for inviting me into such like an important decision in your family and such like an important part of your family's story. Like how cool that I got to be involved in that. And I really appreciate that people, do open up so much to me because it allows me to like do a good job.
Yeah. Final question. What advice would you give to parents listening right now?
I honestly would say every phase of parenting is so different. You are always going to be a first time parent. I think that people focus so much on like, oh, first time mom, first time mom. Everyone's a first time mom. I have two kids now, and every new stage we enter, it's my first time having a 1 year old, first time having a 2 year old, first time having a 3 year old. That never stops. That's going to be the case even when your kids are having kids. It's still going to be your first time. So I think just taking everything as it comes and never letting it throw you off too much, you're still a first time mom, no matter where you're at actually in your parenting.
Yeah, that's a really cool perspective. You have to give yourself grace.
Absolutely. So much grace.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for today. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Jesse, thank you for coming on. You've been listening
Thank you
to
for
Baby
having me.
Steps. Of course. You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. If you're in the market for a new crib, glider, dresser, or more, we'd love for you to check out our line of furniture. Head over to oxfordbabyandkids.com or sohobaby.com. All links are within the show notes. For more information as a listener, enter the code podcast10 for 10% off your total purchase, plus free shipping on all orders over $799. Thanks for listening and tune into our next episode. Bye for now, and remember, every step is a step towards progress. We hope today's story gives you the confidence and the assurance that every journey is different, but we do it together.